Guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and in today's video, I'm actually really excited about today's video. We are going to be doing an unboxing and first impressions of a Grandstream phone. Why am I excited? Because this is the first Grandstream phone that I have personally seen since I first got into the voice over IP industry years and years and years ago. For those of you who may or may not know, I actually used to be a partner in a company many years ago. We're talking almost 15 years ago. When voice over IP first, showed its face and emerged into the market, and we actually specialized in VOIP in its infancy. And the first ever voice over IP phone that I had was a Grandstream. I don't know much about Grandstream. I know at the time when I had a Grandstream phone, I wasn't that impressed with it. But let's be real, that was 15 years ago when VOIP was new in the consumer and business market. So this should be interesting. So with no further ado, let's get into unboxing, what is it actually? Let's get into unboxing this Grandstream GXP 2170. Let's do this thing. Oh, and as always, this phone was supplied to us for free for video review by VOIP Supply. Below this video, I will put a link directly to this phone on their website. You should check them out. VOIP Supply is a leader and one of the largest distributors of all things voice over IP for your business in the market. IP phones, headsets, you name it. They also have some of the best warranties on the market for things that you purchase that are VOIP related. So again, this was supplied by VOIP Supply. Let's jump into this unboxing and see what we got in the box. I gotta say, guys, the box for this Grandstream GXP 2170 is pretty big. Like, this is one of the bigger boxes. I think it's the biggest box of any IP phone that I have unboxed. So this should be interesting. All right, so of course we got the phone here. If you guys can see that. Don't worry, we'll get a little closer and set her all up here in a little bit. So big I can't even get it all on camera. So there is the actual phone itself. I'm running out of table space here, guys. Got a Cat 6 cable here for the phone itself. It's a bit longer than most Cat 6 cables that I have seen come in the packages to get you to connect it. It's definitely longer than most. This says it's 7 feet, so that explains it. I think most of the cables that I get in these boxes standard is 6 feet, but this is a 7-footer. I could tell it was longer just by the weight and just by how it looked, how wide it was in this bag here. Got the kickstand for it. It's actually really small compared to most kickstands that I've seen that come with these phones. So what else we got here? Got a little bit of tangling going on here with some stuff. Here is, of course, our analog cable to connect the handset to the actual base itself. Pretty straightforward. And then here is our handset. Handset feels nice. It feels like it's got some decent quality to it, like it's got some decent weight. It feels a little bit lighter than most Polycom phones that I've reviewed and been able to handle, but it definitely feels heavier, sturdier, and a bit more solid than some of the Yelinks that I've seen and been able to review and use. Oh wow, this is a rare treat, you guys. Check this out. And yeah, I know you're gonna laugh. A power cable. Now, for most of you, you know that we live in the age of power over Ethernet, also called PoE. And so nowadays, most of the retailers and even the service providers, when you get a phone through them, they will not give you a AC adapter. They, prepackage the phone with the manufacturers and whatnot, assuming that you've got like a PoE or power over Ethernet switch or router. Typically, that leaves you with having to get a power supply, from like a VoIP supply or wherever you choose, which typically may end up costing you about 10 to 15 bucks. Not earth-shattering, but it is a pleasant surprise to see a phone that actually included an AC adapter. So that's kind of cool and refreshing. Okay, so we got it all put together now. First impressions. I gotta honestly say, it seems nice. It's a big phone, but kind of like how I remember Grandstream being a little bit back in the day when I used it. It seems a little cheaper. Like the build seems a little cheaper than your typical Polycom or a Cisco, and even a Yealink, which Yealink even tends to be kind of the lower end of the how sturdy or how solid a phone has been built. Not to rag on the phone, because there are some other really nice Grandstreams out there, and it could have just been me. I actually broke the kickstand on one side trying to put it on. The kickstand is really small and is made of some super thin plastic in comparison to what I'm just used to with other phones. But I actually, if you can see that down there, actually kind of broke it by accident. So I can't really fault Grandstream for that, because, you know, I broke it. I'll take full fault for that. But I just feel like it could have taken a bit more pressure than that before it just decided to up and give. So this phone has a color screen. I am not sure if it is a touch screen, but don't worry. As I mentioned before earlier in this video, we are going to cover that in a separate video. I will do an in-depth review. I'll have this bad boy hooked up to internet service, hooked up to my voice over IP service in the office, and we'll give an in-depth review. But it's a big screen. It's one of the biggest screens that I have seen on any of the phones that I've reviewed. Even that really neato Yealink, I think it was like a T54W or something that had the big color screen that tilted and whatnot. The screen on it, or the viewable part of the screen, should I say, is actually bigger than that, it seems like, by a long shot. It's got 5 function keys down here, whereas most phones that I see only typically have 4. So that's actually kind of cool. It'll be interesting when we power this thing up in a future in-depth pro and con review video, why the 5th function key. What is that for? Got a lot of lines here, you guys. If you're somebody that makes a lot of calls, you need a lot of incoming and outgoing call capability, but this is great. That is literally 6-line capability on each side of the screen. So that is 12-line capability, or for most people, even with large offices that I have helped, what they tend to do is they'll take these 6 lines and make this incoming and outgoing calls, or, you know, they'll take somewhere between the first 4 or 6 lines, and then they'll make the remainder of the other lines on the phone available for what's called visual call park. Which is the ability to be able to see who is on what lines in the office and whatnot. So this essentially means you could have, like, say, if you only needed 4 incoming and outgoing lines on your phone capability per person, you could have 6, 7, 8, and you had 8 people in the office. Each of you could see up to 7 or 8 other people in the office, whether they're on a call or not, and know whether you can patch them in or connect to them or transfer a call to them, or, you know, whatever it may be. So lots of lines, great layout for people that have a high call volume in the office. So I kind of like that. Let's see what else we got. A lot of buttons down here in your control panel and dial pad area. The buttons aren't bad, but I've seen better. It reminds me, these number buttons here remind me quite a bit of like the Polycom style circular phones. While I don't mind it because I use a Polycom and a Yealink, I get a lot of people that for some reason complain about buttons like this. They don't like, because they're not like square or rectangular. So if you're a fast dialer, like somebody that's like 911 or something like that, and you need to dial really fast, like in a call center or whatever, you tend to misdial or mispress, as some of my clients that I work with will complain about with certain phones. That is a thing that tends to be pretty common with obviously the Grandstream phones, but also with the Polycom phones. They tend to have this round kind of hit or miss button style. Again, it doesn't bother me, but strangely enough, I get a lot of people that complain about that. You got all of your stuff over here like voicemail, directory, transfer call. I'm not sure what that is. 3-way call conference maybe. Put somebody on hold, pause, headset, and then mute. I like the volume button, even though it's flat all the way across. It doesn't have like a raised area on the left and the right side where the plus and the minus is. I do like how this button is straight across. Some of the phones will do a thing where the volume up and down is two separate buttons. But I like it when it's one straight thing and you can just kind of slide your hands across so that you can kind of use it without looking if you're on speaker or on a phone call or typing on a computer with a headset on or something like that. Speakerphone, I believe this is speakerphone, and I'm not sure what this is right here. I guess we'll cover that in the review. This green, oh, never mind. This is your send button. I'm sorry. Chances are when you're using this and you dial a number like our number, 804-767-2136, you can either press this button here to actually connect the call, or one of your function keys up here will say something like send or OK or something like that. Most IP phones, they're not going to let you just like an old rotary phone or old dial phone, you know. You can't just dial your number and then sit there and wait. You have to actually press something on the phone to confirm the call. So this is, I'm assuming, what that is. Got your handset here, which is, you know, really nice. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, it feels heavier and more sturdier than a Yealink, but less sturdy and durable than a Polycom or a Cisco or something like that. So it feels kind of mid-grade, which is nice. You got a speaker here. And this thing, like every phone these days, boasts that it has HD voice. I'd like to throw out a shameless plug for Polycom yet again that there's, you know, Yealink and Grandstream and everybody else's HD voice, and then there's Polycom HD voice. So if you're somebody who relies heavily on super duper, oh my God, high quality conference calls, you might want to look at a Polycom, but we'll decide in the next video because we'll actually do some tests on this thing and see what we get. So on the back side here, you've got, I don't know what that is, that extension thing. I'm stumped on this one, guys. That's going to be I'll look in the manual and cover that at a later time. But you've got your pass-through here. You've got your, this is where you plug in for your actual phone directly to your internet and whatnot for your internet, your LAN port. And then you've got a PC pass-through. I'm assuming this is gigabit because pretty much nowadays, any phones that are newer, they all support gigabit to go pass through to a PC or network printer or whatever you may have. You've got your AC adapter, your DC adapter, DC to AC, whatever you want to call it, adapter here. And then you've got a headset jack here, which looks like it would use something like the Polycoms use. So you may be kind of limited to headsets on this because I don't see anything anywhere on here for USB, like you typically, oh wait, no, I stand corrected. Many apologies, my dear patrons. There is your USB right there. So you can potentially use a USB style headset to connect to this. This is also what you would use if you want, typically what these are most commonly used for is to charge your phone. Like if you've got an Android or an iPhone on your desk or something, you can actually plug into this and charge your phone, whatnot. You can also plug in a third-party device like an external hard drive or something like that, or a USB key to actually somehow, some way go into this phone and configure it to store actual recordings of calls that you've made with this phone. I'm not actually sure if these ports are PoE. As I mentioned again, we're going to do a separate video where I do a complete in-depth pros and cons review of this phone actually hooked up to the internet and to my voice over IP phone service at a later date. There was no manual in the box for this, so I'm feeling kind of gypped on that. So I'm not actually sure if these two ports here support power over Ethernet. But it did come with a power adapter. So that could possibly indicate why this is one of the few phones that I've ever seen since the last, many years that actually had an AC adapter included with it. I know I already mentioned the kickstand. I gotta honestly be honest with you guys, I don't like it. While it seems like a nice phone, I actually broke this kickstand. It's really, really thin if you guys can see that. The part that broke and the part that connects this is super, super thin. I mean, thinner than like the width of my thumb, and then it's like thinner than like almost a pencil. as far as length. But it looks like on top of that, oh no, it does have variable settings, so I stand corrected there. You can have it at a high or a low setting to angle the phone the way you want it. But I feel like the kickstand could be better. This kickstand just doesn't look like it could take a lot of weight like many phones that I've seen or review. So that concludes my unboxing and first impressions of the Grandstream GXP 2170. It's not bad. It's very basic. I guess the best way that I could sum up this phone is it seems to me like it is probably a good budget phone that is at a very good price point, probably a better, or should we say lower price point than, say, an equivalent Polycom or Yealink that supports up to 12 incoming and outgoing lines. It seems like the chassis itself and just the build itself is super basic. It's not much to look at. It's got a big, nice screen, but it's not much to look at in comparison to some of your higher end phones. But where it lacks in, you know, a super thick, super high quality chassis, it looks like you have more function. A lot more function keys and a lot more line capability. If you're interested in this phone, you know, more information about the price and more in-depth information about specifications, below this video in the description, I have included a link to this phone directly on VOIP Supply's website. Again, they sent us this phone free of charge for us to do a review. They are a great company if you are interested in all things VOIP hardware, from IP phones to headsets. They've got excellent customer service, and most importantly, they have the best warranties in the industry for items like this for your business. Again, I will do a more in-depth review video in the very soon future on this, with it hooked up to internet power and my VOIP service provider, and I'll go over the full functions and pros and cons. Again, Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business phone and internet service in the United States. I'll talk to you guys again in the next video.